So we have Abby back. She was here in like, I think in the fall. Am I right? Were you here in fall of 2024?
Yeah, that's
Y-
right.
Yeah. And you were the one who was seated on the left and a little
Yeah,
below your sister, right? Because you and your sister
correct.
were on at the same time. So I believe I told you, if I'm recalling correctly, that something about you really wanted to be like, I don't want to. This isn't. I mean, this isn't. Oh, this is so awkward. So I wound up saying that your heart was to be a mom, and that you really just wanted to like create a family. Like that was your like life dream, kind of, is what I
Yeah,
said. And then I said I felt like the guy was coming in. I said that too.
yeah.
And was I completely wrong?
So you were not completely wrong. So I've always wanted to be a mom, always wanted a family. And you said the guy was coming in, and in after our call, I actually reconnected with my ex, and when we started talking again, it was going really well, and it seemed like he put the work in, he grew since our breakup in the past, and things were moving well, and then all of a sudden, like it came to like a halt, and he pretty much just showed me that he didn't change. He all those true colors shown, and yeah, so now I'm single. Still want to be a mom, but
Okay. So there's the cap. So there was a guy, there was energy, there was male energy,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It did show up. It just wasn't
Yeah,
the guy. It was a guy.
exactly.
Okay. Do you have a big burning life question for me today?
Oh, I guess maybe not a specific question, but I'm kind of in a place where in the unknown, I'm focusing on my health right now. I've been
Mhm.
through a lot of health challenges over the past year, year and a half, and I'm kind of in a place of unknown. I don't really know what the future holds as a like career and obviously health. So it's just kind of don't really know what's
Don't
going
really know
on.
what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like you're on a journey at the moment. A lot of us really are, right? A lot of us are. There's a people keep talking about the great ascension that's happening right now and the great awakening that's going on. Like people who were asleep are becoming conscious and like, wait, what? And so like I feel like your body is asking you to level up.
Okay.
The United States does really shitty stuff to food, right? The United States really, really destroys its food, and its food is actually not edible by most human bodies. Some of it is the genetically modified stuff because genetic modifications, your body only knows like what it knows. And now all these genetic modifications, your body doesn't recognize this stuff as food, right?
Right.
There's also the processing that goes into it that, like, not food. And so, um, I feel like your body is telling you, I need you to be, I don't want to say this in a bad way, and please don't hear it in a negative way. Like your guides are nothing but loving, but they're saying we need you to be a little better in your like food consciousness.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm starting to channel, just so you know. So I might flip out of in between Kim and I, right? Just so you
Yeah.
know, I'm tapping in, and so when I tap
Yeah.
in, they take over, and then I'm no longer here. I am, but I'm
Okay.
not. Like it's all
It's
manner of
okay.
work. It's
I love it. I love it all.
okay, good. So we are sensing that your body is asking for the upgrade. Your body is. I feel like the sickness is an autoimmune issue, and I feel
Hmm.
it's actually not an autoimmune issue. We are sensing that it is your body asking for better. And so we challenge you to do what poor Kim had to do, right? Kim is no longer eating dairy, she's no longer eating gluten, and she's no longer eating refined American sugar. Kim has found that when she took herself off sugar, she no longer had anxiety attacks and panic attacks.
Hmm.
3 or 4 days later, those went away. And then when she took herself off flour, everything just got better. More energy, more strength, more durability. She had this past weekend. She had flour in New York City, but it was Italian flour. It was imported, and she had zero side effects from it.
Wow.
No belly gut, no aches, no pains, no nothing. She just had a flower from Italy, and it didn't affect her negatively at all.
That's
And so
amazing.
we challenge you to look at what the fuel you're putting in, because
Hmm.
you are in an upgrade. Your body is asking for better, because your body and your soul are currently connected in this lifetime because of this is the avatar you chose, right? And so in this particular lifetime, you and your body are learning how to be a machine together. And very often people like to separate their brain and their body. They like
Hmm.
to separate those two things, and those two things are not separate, they are together. You can't live in this world and not have a body, and you can't live in this world without your spirit and your soul. And so, as you are moving forward and moving up, and I sense there is training for you, like yoga training. I feel like there's like it's going to be a body soul connection that as you tap into hearing your body, you maybe it's meditation instructor, but I'm sensing there's going to be some spiritual training that comes along with the food stuff, that as you like start to realize and love this frame that you're in and how beautiful and lovely it is, and how much it does. God, it does so much. Do you ever stop and think about your feet and all the work your feet do in a day? Like, not to mention all the work your hands do in a day, and not to mention all the work your heart does in a day, right? Like, this frame is a beautifully designed frame. And as you fall in love with this frame, you're going to realize that the spiritual and the frame are meshed, and you're going to start looking at work that are combining those two things. I really sense like you're going to go through training, like yoga training or Pilates
Okay.
training, or right. I feel like that there's some opening that's going to happen, some spaciousness that's going to bring you up and out, and it's going to combine your love of body and your love of spirituality.
Mm. Wow. That's awesome. No,
And
but
go ahead.
it's interesting that you brought up the food aspect because I actually am more carnivore right now.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to include, like, add in other sources of nutrition.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
uh, healthy sources of nutrition, right? Like we're talking like spinach. And if you can stand a kale, Kim can't stand a kale. Like
Yeah.
she can't handle a kale. She thinks it's so gross.
Yeah.
People are like, eat this kale. And she's like, no, thank you.
No.
But if you can stand a spinach, something that Kim does is she grills up bison on the stove,
Yeah.
and then she puts it over lettuce. So that's just it. It's like a sort of a salad, but not. It's bison and
Yeah.
lettuce.
Yeah.
um, and so she's asking these big questions too. And you are actually in a space where you're like, what is my place in this world, and why am I here? You are in a space where you're looking around at the that's going on, right? The bullshit that's
Yeah.
going on. And you're like, Kim asked this very same question about 5 weeks ago, maybe 10 weeks ago. She looked at us and said, why are we here at this time? This doesn't make any sense. I don't want to be alive for what we see coming, what she saw coming, right?
Yeah.
And we have to say, do not fret. Do not worry. It looks bad. But remember, spirit is bigger than the badness. And
Yeah.
remember, there is a bigger thing at play.
Hmm.
If we didn't want him to be president, he wouldn't be president. If he wasn't serving a purpose, he wouldn't be there.
Right.
We have to dismantle systems and get them to fall apart before we can change them. The United States is not willing to accept universal health care until they realize the need for universal health care. And so something must be broken in order for it to be better.
Yeah.
So ride this wave, ride out the fear. Don't let it stick around in your body, right? This is why we encourage movement. Go find movement. Kim is now at a gym. She now goes to a gym.
Oh,
She hates it. And she loves it. But the day she went, she was crying because she had so much
oh,
anxiety about it.
yeah.
So, like, find your space and the right space for you, right?
Okay.
Like, find ways to get your breathe on, right? Because you need to move that energy out. And Kim was really resistant to going, and she met up with this hypnotherapist who said, "If I'm going to work with you, I need you to do this. I need you to go exercise." And she said, "Don't think of it as exercise. Think of it as moving energy out of your body.
Mm,
You're just moving energy. You're just taking energy from one space to another space. And so if you get overwhelmed, we encourage movement because it'll help move some of that out. Because if it stays in here, it's going to cause anxiety."
yeah,
And
exactly.
it can't stay in here. And your brain is like, you know how we were talking about how great your body is doing all the really hard work?
Yeah,
Yeah, your brain's doing the same thing. Your brain's doing
yeah.
a lot of work and it's doing a really great job. It's doing a really great job. Like, so totally fabulous. Your brain is a beautiful, beautiful brain. But it also gets you in trouble because it runs too far ahead. And it also likes to go too far back. It's not sitting in your kitchen right now with you, right? It's
Yeah,
like on some other planet that doesn't even
exactly.
exist, right? Some
True.
alternate reality that may never come to be, right? And then your body has these brain thoughts, and unfortunately, your body doesn't know the difference between current brain thoughts and like future brain thoughts that may or may not happen, and it doesn't know not to get upset.
Hmm.
And it doesn't know that the thing that you're thinking about is not upsetting, and so it just goes blah. And so when you start going ah, because you're looking at things, and I'm telling you, reality is really not so great right now, right? And
Hmm.
as you're looking at this reality, I need you to realize that this isn't reality, that we're all in a matrix. This is all an avatar, right? This is all a reset. This is all the things that need to happen to create something better for all of us. And so this divisiveness is pulling away the wheat, as they say in the Bible, the wheat from the chaff. And the people who believe in Christ and say they go to church are going to be really surprised at who's actually wheat and who's actually chaff, right? Because the
Yeah,
truth is, this divisiveness is showing who really has love and who just lives in judgment. And so for you, right, for you, find ways to bring in more love. I feel like you've been a little judgy of you. You've been a little
yeah.
like, I'm not keeping up. I'm not living up to the standard. I'm supposed to be here, but I'm only here right now. Like, it's supposed to look like this, and I don't have that. And so now I'm railing against my present because my present doesn't line up with the future that I had in store. When in reality, it's all made up. Your desire of what you wanted was a made up desire. Right? You made that all up. You thought it would be great, and I love it. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. And why do you want it? You don't know. But you know you want it, right? And then you're like, it should be here now.
Exactly.
Oh, and honey girl, don't take that badly. I call myself honey girl. And honey girl, it's coming. It's coming, right?
Mhm.
But the more you grasp onto it, the more you hold onto it, the more you're actually pushing it away.
Yeah.
And the more you open your hands and say, I release and allow, you're actually opening up and saying, I'm welcoming this in. And I will tell you, as Kim Beam, the hardest thing to do is to fucking release and allow.
Exactly.
It is the hardest part of manifestation.
Yeah.
How do you even do it? Like, how do you even do it? You actually have to like die to self a little in order in order to release and allow.
Yeah.
And we get how hard it is, and we applaud your efforts, and we know how much you've been working, and you've been sitting, and you've been asking, and you've been trying to release and allow. Actually, we sense your trying and your desire, but your humanness, oh, your beautiful humanness comes in, right? It just comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, And the more you open up, the more you open up to all of it, right? The more you open up to the future you're looking for, and the more you open up to the possibilities, and the more you open up to that beautiful path ahead of you, right? The more you open up to these things, the more you will create opportunities for all of it to come in. So Kim wasn't really looking for the guy to come in. She was looking for all these other things. So she was just being open, open, open. And the guy may have come in, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know what's happening with that. But the thing is, because she's just open, 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 she's not trying to put like parameters on it either. And she's not trying to put definitions on it. It just is what it is. And we will tell you, this is not normal for her. Normally, her brain is actively involved trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out, trying to, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? And she does have moments where she gets there, and then he says, you're overthinking.
Yeah.
Right? And then she says, but that feels not very nice. And so for you, when you find that you're doing the overthinking thing that pulls you out of your current peaceful present, current peaceful present, change your circumstances. Like, change the room that you're in. Change the thing you're thinking about. Recognize what made you feel that way and be like, I don't want to think that thought anymore. I want to think this new thought repeatedly. And as Esther Hicks says, a belief is a thought you keep thinking. So just change, as simple as it is, change your thought.
So simple.
So simple. Just change your thought. Just change your thoughts. But if that becomes a practice, then it just happens naturally for you. And you just flow into it. And you just flow into it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, is the guy coming in? I don't know right now. Is your future ahead of you? Well, of course, everybody's future is ahead of them, right? Everybody's future is ahead of them. I see you taking steps to create more peace and love and kindness in your life. And as you take those steps and you get drawn to where you get drawn, I'm going to cut myself out. Well, I'll say the things you're looking for will fall in, right? The things you're looking for will fall in. And I was listening to Esther Hicks one day, and she said she was in an airport and she stood up and she like walked over to the bookstore, and then she walked over to the food place, and then she walked over someplace else, and then I think at one point she bumped into her own book. She's like, hey, that's my book, right? And then she like wandered around, and then she like went and sat in a different seat, and that seat wasn't comfortable, and she stood up and she went to a different seat, and then she sat down in that seat, and then she's like, this might be nice. But as she was doing this and moving around the airport, she eventually found a man who was listening to her. And she said, that's me. Like, you're listening to me right now. And he was like, what? And she's like, yeah, that's me. Like, I can hear you, what you're listening to, and you're listening to me. And she said, if she had stayed in her seat over on the other side of the airport, hadn't gotten restless, hadn't had all that wandering, sat in a seat, sat in a different seat, went to the bookstore, found her own book. Like, if she hadn't had all that wandering, she never would have found the man that she could have encouraged.
Yeah.
And so for you need to be moving. So go to a yoga studio. You don't like it? No big deal. Go to another yoga studio. You don't like it? No big deal. Go find a Pilates class. You don't like that? Go find a bar class. You don't like that? Go to a gym. You don't like that gym? Go find a new gym, right? And as you it's gonna feel frenetic. It's gonna feel frenetic, and you're gonna feel like I can't find my space. But you're not gonna find your space in your kitchen either. So don't be afraid of finding a space that doesn't feel right. Great. You can cross that one off your list.
Yeah.
Right? And the truth is, you may already have the space in your head. You may already know it. Kim, when she was told to go find a place to exercise, the person who told her to go to Planet Fitness. She went to Planet Fitness, and the guy told her, because she was like crying. She like walked in and she was so overwhelmed by like being in the Planet Fitness and being in this like guy space that smells like gym and sweat. And it says like no judgment on the wall, right? She walks in and she's like practically in tears, and this guy shows up, not there, but then he shows up, and I'm like, she says to him, I need you to help me because I'm really feeling overwhelmed and I'm really not comfortable here. And he basically says, I've been here 3 days.
Oh.
At the end of that
Oh.
conversation, this guy told her, you need to take like a public speaking course, or you need to like go take an assertiveness class. Because dumb boys have like made gyms really uncomfortable for her in the past, right?
Yeah.
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 So this is your fault. Go take a public speaking class and go take an assertiveness class. That's what he said. And she was able to
Wow.
cross it off her list. Planet Fitness, not my space. Even if someone says no judgment on the wall, not my space.
Yeah.
A friend had told her previously about this other gym, and she stopped by a bar place before she got there. But eventually, because she was driving around that day, we eventually got her to that space that we had in her head to begin with. And that is now her gym, and that is now her space, and she feels really comfortable there, even at night when all of the meathead guys are like wandering around. Right? Like we helped her move and we helped her get there. We put the idea in her head months and months and months ago, and she just sort of ignored it until two people within 3 days basically said, exercise is really important. It bothers me that you don't exercise.
Wow.
And Kim heard it and she received it, and now she's like figuring out how to get exercise into her life. But that day, if she hadn't tried a bunch of places, and if the first one had been so terrible and she was like, that's it, I give up, right? She never would have found this really lovely gym and never would have found how great exercise really feels in her body. And so if you find some place shitty, right? Don't let the shitty stop you. Don't let the shitty stop you.
Okay.
Okay? Now, we want to help you with a goal or two. We feel like you have lots of things in your head as things that you're directed toward doing, right? And so we want to know how to support you in the decision making process, because we feel like you are in a hub and there are all these ideas, but none of them intermingle. They all just go off on different roads.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we help you with that? Because every time you turn, you're like, oh, I could do that, but it'll take me down that road. Or, oh, I could do that, it'll take me down that road. And because there's so many options, you're actually not making any choices at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to know how to support you in that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's like, I guess like right now, for some reason I feel like I've been like thinking about like career, and I guess because of the business that I have with my sister, we're kind of at a pause right now, because I had to travel for my health to get some treatments, and then now she's currently taking like a 3-week long course. So we have had to like put things at a halt, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I've had all these ideas, and then I'm like, oh, but I guess I'm just supposed to be focusing on healing and my health.
Mm-hmm. And yes, well, we say yes to that because that's where we started, right? We started with the focusing on your healing and your health. And your healing and your health is not just the food you consume, right? It's the activities you bring in. It's the all of the things that make up a body and a soul. And so maybe you sit down and you're like, okay, well, how am I doing? I don't know. There's like 12. There's like, you could look it up. What are all the aspects of life? Aspects of life. I think there's like 12 of them. It's like spiritual and physical health, and then there's the spiritual health, there's friendships and relationships. And maybe you just take an inventory. What areas do I want to grow in these spaces, and what areas do I feel like I'm doing really well, and I can like, not that I can put that on the back burner, but I can like let that go a little as I focus on these other areas that need more focus.
Okay.
Right? To make you rounded. And I feel like as you go on this little self-explore and you find out things you like and things you don't like, right? Because you get out of your kitchen, right? As you go on this self-explore, I really, really sense that you are going to discover the thing that you're driven to do.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm just going to say this, and like, Kim wants to ego on it, right? She wants to ego on it, but we're gonna say this, and then we're gonna let the seeds just fall and see what happens.
Okay.
When I say Kim wants to ego on it, she wants to me not to say it. She wants to not say it. She wants to not say it. So this is like, Kim took 5 weeks of silence at a place called the Himalayan Institute in the Poconos in
Okay.
Honesdale, Pennsylvania. The Himalayan Institute in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. And it's a place where there's like, you can go and live there for like 6 months. And it has an Ayurvedic doctor facility attached to it.
Wow.
And it has a, have you heard, you might not have heard of the chocolate mocha. It's also a coffee, MOKA, but they have a roastery. They're founded there, and they make chocolate and they roast coffee there. And so people who come in to be residents there, they like sometimes will be doing the chocolate and the coffee tours on the weekends. But there's
Okay.
also like spiritual training that happens there. And there's also like, it's got an ashram. It's got like a place to go and meditate. And then there's meditation studies that happen there. And it's all like vegan. So carnivore is not going to work there, but it's all like vegan food, right? It's all like
Yeah.
vegan food. And the whole point of being there is to like get body and soul combined.
Wow.
And so I'm wondering if this is the kind of place that would help you hone in on what it is you're looking for
Yeah.
and how to hear and how to know and to live in an intentional community.
Exactly.
It's
That's
an intentional community. And so there's
yeah.
yoga, you can do yoga training there, like you can be yoga certified there, and their yoga is yummy. It's just yummy yoga. Like it's just
Yeah.
like gentle and kind. I mean, does it work you out? Absolutely. But it's still just
Yeah.
gentle and kind. And they do a yoga nidra every Wednesday night that's just like, oh, I'm just gonna fall asleep
Wow.
right here. Right. And
Yeah.
then it's just lovely.
Hmm.
Um and then people who go there for residential, like they like work in the kitchen, or they'll like, help make food in the morning. And then there's like grounds on campus that you get to use all the time. And you're making like a 6 month commitment. So
Wow.
it's not like you're
Yeah.
like making a huge life commitment to be there.
Right.
But
Wow.
there are
That's
things like this around the country and around the world that may
yeah.
light you up, right?
Yeah. That sounds amazing. I mean, it's what I'm about to say is not exactly like this, but I'm actually leaving for Florida tonight. Actually, um, to we have a place down there, and I'm actually going to go down there by myself to be alone and
Yes.
have that space and have that time with myself.
We
Yeah,
love this. Kim
yeah,
Kim would go on vacation during the pandemic. She lives alone, but she would go on vacation during the pandemic and would like read spiritual books while she was gone and study for
yeah,
herself and take time to be alone to like really focus. So take this time to like do a little self-explore and be like, if it's not that space at the Himalayan Institute, is it another space
yeah.
to create this kind of like self-care, self-love?
Exactly.
Holistic. The thing that we like about the Himalayan Institute for you is the Ayurvedic doctor on campus,
Yeah, that
where they
sounds amazing.
where they holistically look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. That really does sound like a perfect like world.
Yeah. And Kim did 5 weeks of silence there, right? Like, well,
Wow.
mostly silence. They're not really a silent place. People would find out she was silent, and then they would come and sit with her at breakfast and be like, "What are you doing?" She would be like,
Aw.
"Silent." Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. You be well.
Thank you.
All right. We're just gonna